I need to be outside more often. Out of the air conditioner, I've gotten too acclimated. All right, can everybody hear me okay? All right. Welcome. My name is Leanne Balta. I am, what do I want to tell you about? I'm Leanne Balta. This is my Betsy. Where she sits down. Your Silver Journey is here to help all of us just get answers to questions that we have about aging. I wanted to, some of you know already that my mom passed away at a very young age, and I was not equipped to go through that transition. And later, Betsy and I spent a lot of time with her mother-in-law who went through Alzheimer's. And again, we were not, I felt like as an American, I was not as equipped as she was as a Guatemalan. She instinctively knew what she would be, but I guess the point is, we really had a lot to learn. And so over the years, as we've aged, our friends have aged, our clients have aged, we've always thought, where can we go to get answers to some of the questions that we have? And so several years ago, we met a woman in Oklahoma that was doing this in her community, and we latched onto it. We wanted to know all about it. And so that's why you have Your Silver Journey today. Betsy and I are with Century 21 Sheets. We help families simplify real estate and help them when they're ready to downsize, to simplify that process. And we have lots of friends in the room that are even more important to that whole process of aging. And so I'd like to take a minute and let them get their bearings, because I'm gonna ask them to introduce themselves, and they don't even know that I'm gonna ask them to introduce themselves. So they are, let's start with Sydney. Let's start with Sydney, and Sydney, if you would introduce yourself as one of our education partners.
Yes. Hi everyone, my name is Sydney Kaufman. I'm here representing assisted living locators of North End. Dave Holder, the guy with the glasses on the screen. He's not here today, but we are a free senior living referral service. So the service is absolutely free to the client. We help seniors find senior living ranging from 55 and older all the way to memory care. So if there's anything we can do to help in your senior living process, we're here for you.
So I like to think of Dave and Sydney as the realtors of senior living communities, because there's quite a few. We're blessed in Indianapolis and the surrounding areas to have several, but there's a lot you would want to know that maybe they're not necessarily going to share with you. And so Dave and Sydney would actually sit down and talk to you and find out what you're looking for, what kind of family resources that are in place, what you need, what you don't need, and sort of help, and then take you to visit several places. So I just really appreciate that. There are organizations that you can call, but may not necessarily be boots on the ground like I would want my mom to have had. So thank you. Ms. Kayla.
Hello everybody, my name is Kayla Holmes. I'm the marketing coordinator with Indiana Estate Elder Law. So Jenny actually is representing our company today as one of our panelists, so you'll hear more about what we do, but thank you for having us.
Thanks, Kayla.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you.
My name is Brooklyn Guariello. I'm with Home Instead Home Care Company. I'm actually out of the Hamilton County office, so I'm new as the new BDA for the Hamilton County area. Here with JJ, who you'll be hearing from today, so he'll tell you more, and I'm excited to be here for my first gathering with you all.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Ms. Nikki.
Hi, I'm Nikki Corder, and I'm one of the owners of Harmony Senior Relocation Services. And we help people when they're downsizing and moving to that smaller home. We help with as much or as little of that process as you might need, from doing your furniture plan so that you know exactly what fits into your new home. We'll do the packing, unpacking, we'll help you arrange for an estate sale or a clean out. So anything that you might need pertaining to that move, once you decide to move, we can help you with that. Just stop by and I'll give you a brochure or business card and answer any questions you might have.
I'm Katie Maynard. I am with Barrett Financial Group. I am a mortgage lender, and my role is to help you analyze your financing, your residential financing options. So whether that's a reverse mortgage, which uses the equity in your home but doesn't require a payment, or whether that's an equity line of credit or just a standard purchase. So I'm here to give you options and help educate you on what resources are available.
Miss Debbie or Lisa? Or Sarah? We have three of you today.
Yeah, we do. We're full force. Hi, I'm Debbie Peller. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Store and Financial. We're just down the street at about 11th and Oak. And we help with the full financial picture. We have a full investment advisory team that works with people on their retirement planning and how to manage that. We also are finishing up tax season, so we have a couple more days. We're wrapping up that. We help individuals with their tax planning and strategy. And we also help business owners. And then I want to introduce Lisa Kellum. She's going to talk about another area that we help with.
Thank you, Debbie. Well, this is super exciting to be here today, you guys. We're hearing from a lot of really amazing services that are available to you, so it's very good to meet everybody today too. So we're a new partner here. It's good to see you all. As Debbie indicated, I'm part of Store and Financial, and we offer a lot of different services. Our newest offering is daily money management. It's a financial wellness program, so we offer day-to-day money management, bill pay, mail management for clients that are struggling, having difficulty, as well as power of attorney services, trustee and executor services as well. So a lot of times we have families that don't have that, or they don't want to use their kids or other family members to serve in that capacity. So it's something that we can offer as an objective party to make sure that people's wishes are being honored. This is Sarah. She is our marketing specialist for Store and Stop.
Thanks for being here. All right, and then we have Miss Tasha.
Hi, I'm Latasha Wolf. I'm the marketing director with Ascension Living St. Vincent Pace. Thanks for having me. And I brought our lovely director of rehab services. And you may be asking, what is PACE? We are an all-inclusive program for the elderly. Our whole objective is to help someone to age in place in their home with our wraparound care services. So we're located on the west side of Indianapolis. We have a clinic, we have day centers, we have medical transportation, we have pharmacy, just to name a few of the comprehensive services we provide. So if someone is 55 and older and in our service area, I have the material detailing where we provide services. It's not just Marion County. We do the surrounding counties, and then there are other PACE programs that, like Franciscan PACE, that are similar to our model. So we are a great resource to the community to help people to age in place in their home.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So you just heard from our education partners. Our education partners are not here to sell you anything. They're here to help me and by answering questions, having connections. The people that you have in this room are people that I would recommend and that I have in my phone. So if I have a friend that has questions, I have someone that I can reach out to. And if they aren't the right person, they're gonna get us one step closer to who we need to be with. So I really appreciate them being here. They help me to get the information out there. Not only do they serve as panelists from time to time, but they help me inform the community that we are here having these conversations. And sometimes you just need to have a conversation. And so that's why we're here. I'm gonna have the panelists introduce themselves in just a second. Why? I've been stalking you, got your faces up there.
You were in the order.
Oh.
We picked the right seat.
Okay. That was quite a coincidence. It's good because you don't have to move now.
Yeah.
So, I think I would like to start out by just acknowledging that most of us don't necessarily fear getting older. But what I'm hearing more and more often is it's the loss of control that is just has this nagging, slow sense of happening to us. And so today's conversation is not about giving anything up. It's about understanding what is available to us and what we can do to actually age in place as long as possible. I think the statistics say that while it feels high, like Betsy and I help people downsize, it feels like quite often, but it's actually less than 20% of people want to downsize. So, or they choose a place to downsize that fits. So, just want to acknowledge that most of us actually want to age in place longer. So that's a lot of what our programming is around. So we want to do that. We want to age in place as long as possible, without apologies, without guilt, and without crisis. So that's why we're here. I'd like to see a show of hands before we get started. I ask you the question: how many of you feel like you don't want to be a burden? How many of you have? Oh, God, we're in good company. Okay, we're in the right room. It's interesting how that starts early in our adult lives, and it just keeps growing and growing. Miss Beth, remind me about this at the end.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We're going to meet our special guest today, and we're so incredibly grateful for you to take time out of your busy days and careers to be here with us today. So thank you so much. I'm going to have Jenny introduce herself first.
Hi guys, my name is Jenny Roselle. I am with Indiana Estate and Elder Law. As the name signals, we're a law firm that helps with estate planning and elder law. I am one of the owners and attorneys. I'm one of those crazy people. I own the law firm with my husband. So the secret sauce is that we drive separate to work. That's how it works.
I have the pleasure of attending some of Justin's trainings. He and Kayla work on just a lot of education programming, so I'm just so grateful that I have talked to other attorneys that have said, good luck finding someone that will come out and talk to you. So I'm more grateful to you now than ever, so thank you. Mr. JJ.
Well, good afternoon. My name is JJ Nance. I'm with Home Instead. We're a caregiving and personal care service, really servicing not only the greater Indianapolis area and Indiana, but we're actually in all 50 states, about a dozen countries. So that's one thing I love about Home Instead is we're large in the sense that we get all those tools, resources, and support of a large company, but also the personal touch of a family-owned business. So Chris and Sherry Irons, they're local to the greater Lafayette area, but actually opened their first office in Zionsville 30 years ago. So this community is near and dear to their heart as well. I've been at Home Instead just over 7 years now, and love to be able to sit down with families and just educate, make sure we get the word out about your options as far as what caregivers can do to allow you to honor your wish of aging in place. We call it wherever that is, whether it's your home, a long-term care community. Our caregivers provide support wherever you're at with the basics, housekeeping, meal prep, errands, transportation, but also more hands-on care with bathing, dressing, toileting, brief changes, even end-of-life support, working right alongside other skilled services. So it's an honor to be here and looking forward to getting to know you guys a little bit and sharing alongside the other panelists on how we can support you guys in your journey.
Thank you. Christina?
Yes, hello all. I'm Christina Schenke. I'm a physical therapist and the director of rehab at PACE. So I'm with Tasha. I've been a physical therapist for 15 years, and I've seen every spectrum of care and participated in a lot of that, obviously with family and friends as well. But there's no telling how things can change in one moment, and I love the ability to be able to have wraparound care that really sees the participant, is what we call our patients, who enroll with PACE, but to see the participant and wrap around them with all the things that they need. So at PACE, like Tasha said, we are a program of all-inclusive care for the elderly, and so it's not just a therapy clinic that you go to that's siloed away from the doctor who ordered you, who's away from your specialist, but we really do have the ability, and with all of our disciplines, to be able to give the support and the care that people need to stay happy and healthy at home. And that is the main priority of what we do. So whatever the needs and the goals are of the participant, that is what drives us And so everyone is unique and everyone's got their own goals and is individualized, which makes my job super fun. I've never had more fun doing physical therapy than I have with PACE. To be able to offer the things that are truly needed and what matter to the participant, not just what, insurance dictates or what my, productivity allows, but truly offering what they need. So it's a pleasure to be with you all and to share any bits of knowledge that I have and to learn some about you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. On your chairs, there's pen and notepad. I'm going to ask questions for the next 45 minutes or so, and then you're gonna have a chance to ask some questions, so feel free to jot those down when it's your turn, when you're ready. I do wanna just say, the restrooms are out the door. It's out the door, it's a quick left and a long right to the restroom, so if you need to do that, you're welcome to do that. And then I'm gonna go over flyers and stuff when we're done, so do let me talk about the flyers when we're done. All right, again, thank you for being here. I was going to get to my first question. Christina, you're up first, yeah.
Okay.
So can you talk to us a little bit more of, we know the concept of aging in place, but what does staying independent actually mean from a physical standpoint?
Yeah. I think ultimately that's what we all truly want, is to be able to do what we want to do when we want to do it and how we want to do it. And I think what's super important about independence is focusing more on the task to be accomplished or the goal to be achieved. Specifically then related to, if I wanted to go and my goal was to be able to wash my own dishes, and to be able to achieve that goal, that is success for that person, that's their desire. And what I would love to share with people is then how can I help give you the tools and support to make sure that you can complete that task, to have that accomplishment, but to do it safely. And so if that looks like maybe some adaptation, maybe you have pain while you're doing it and we have to do it in a different position with some different techniques, or maybe we need a piece of equipment to help us stand longer, or something to modify so you can reach the sink handle while you're seated to do that. So independence to me, and what I try to stress with my participants, is you have a goal and a desire to do something. Great, let's achieve that goal together, but let's reframe it. Instead of doing it by yourself with no support or no devices, let's get you to achieve that goal safely, and maybe have some of those other components with you, devices or support or modifications in any way. So independence, I think, in my mind, is accomplishing the goal that you set out to do, and making sure you feel accomplished in the things that mean something to you, that's important to you.
So independence isn't necessarily being alone.
No.
It's just,
It's not.
it's about doing whatever we want, but doing it safely.
Yes, yep. And so if you need to be able to walk a long distance to be able to get from, say your apartment complex to your mailbox, how do we give you the independence to do it on your own, but maybe not without any support or with any help? Maybe you have to use something because you need to sit down halfway through, or maybe we need something to modify that task. So modifications or equipment to me, or even support, setup, is still giving you the tools to be able to do it for yourself, with that satisfaction of knowing that you accomplished the thing that meant something to you.
Thank you. Thank you. What are some of the things we should look for, or what are some signs that we tend to ignore?
Well, I think we see a lot of times that in striving for that independence, sometimes we start to isolate ourselves, and we maybe don't want to show our family, our friends, some of the things that maybe make it a little bit hard for us. We all have them, by the way, so it's not new to the humankind of having struggles and difficulties, and we have that from our entire lifespan, that things, some things are harder than others. But I think really making sure that we have a sense of community and being able to have people to kind of, I wouldn't say check in on, but a lot of times we try to hide the things that are hard, whether we intend to or not. And so I think first being kind of open and honest with ourselves that you know, some things maybe are a little bit more challenging, or "Ooh, that scared me. I don't wanna tell my kids that I almost fell when I did this," or whatever. So I think being aware of those things is gonna be very helpful. The more that you're aware of some of the things that are maybe a little bit more challenging, can be really helpful, to making sure you stay safe in your own home. But there are lots of things, you know, some simple things like getting in and out of bed might be difficult for people. A little bit of balance difficulties, or a little bit of wobble here or there. Maybe some weakness with walking your normal distance. You know, maybe some of those tasks that you used to do and you did them all the time, but now are feeling a little bit, you know, you start to question yourself, if I did it this way, or should I do it this way, or if I did, you know, so I think, again, having that person or people to be able to be like, hey, I would like to do this task, but maybe this felt a little bit scary to me. But I think a lot of times we start to see some of those things fade, but we also try to hide them, which I think only contributes to making the problem bigger in the end result, when if we prevented it or, you know, stopped it sooner on, then it could be less dangerous in the future. If that makes any sense.
I'm finding myself like starting to put things off, like just delaying wanting to do them, because I know that they're gonna be more taxing than they used to be.
Sure.
And unfortunately, my children can name some of my falls. They tease me about them, and they're just from being clumsy. So I don't know what it's. I can see myself trying to keep some of that away from my kids. JJ, what happens, or what have you seen happen when families wait too long?
Yeah, it's very common. In our industry, a lot of families come to us in crisis mode where they haven't taken the time to plan and prepare for or ask about what those needs and wishes are. So really overall, it just makes the process of setting up supports in the home, whether that's something like PACE or home care or home health, hospice, whatever the support might be, it makes it more stressful, also makes it more of a burden on the family members trying to figure out all the pieces and options and who does what and how quickly can it be set up and how do you pay for it? Is it covered by Medicare? All these flurry of questions come flooding in at a time when you're also trying to manage just getting better and feeling better. Oftentimes we see families come to us in crisis. So the biggest challenge we see is that additional stress and anxiety, trying to piece it all together, which you all just shared. Of course, you don't want to feel like you're a burden to either your spouse or adult children or friends or family members, and we see that so often where you don't want to feel like you're putting too much on them, because you know that they're wearing other hats other than a caregiver, right? So they might be a parent or a grandparent, or they're working a full-time job. So if we can work to plan ahead, have these conversations, know what resources are out there prior to, say, a fall that lands in a hospitalization and maybe a short-term rehabilitation stay. If you can have those conversations before those things happen, then everybody's on the same page and knows their wishes. The other challenge that we often see is it can limit your choices as well. So if you haven't done the research and looked into things, especially the way that insurance and Medicare is managed nowadays, you don't get a lot of notice. So say you are hospitalized and you know you're gonna need a little bit more help, you're in the hospital, they're trying to get you out the door as soon as possible, if any of you have already experienced that yourselves. So you have a great social work team there, but they only have so much time to spend with you and get things lined up before you leave, and so you're scrambling to figure out what, where you're gonna go for rehab, or what home health or home care supports you're gonna use. So if you take the time to do some research, understand who's out there, who your go-to people are gonna be, then you have the chance, it just takes more time to research and really find companies and resources that you can trust and feel confident in supporting you and your family.
I really appreciate that. That is one of the reasons why we're doing this, so that we can put our resources in our phones. And then ideally, we would share those resources with our families. You know, Anna and I talked about, you know, having all this information, but now what? Or how to fill in the missing pieces. Lisa and I talked about, and Lisa does some workshops where we can actually make some progress on getting this information in a notebook so that we can share. So I wish there was more time in the day, because I would really like to have like an 8-week seminar where we could start from Jenny and work our way, you know, to like an end of life celebration. Because I've been meeting some friends at that that do that kind of work, and how much love goes into building our stories and having and giving that as a gift to our kids at the end, so they can actually experience, you know, us instead of them having to do that for us. That planning piece, that getting in the phone, but not only you having the phone, because you're stressed, you're maybe out of commission, so making sure our loved one has JJ's phone number in the book. I wanted to ask Jenny, I wanted to ask JJ, is there any way, how would you help us to reframe that, that feeling of not wanting to be a burden and to be able to accept someone's help? Is there any way for us to reframe that? Like, I don't wanna be a burden.
Sure. Yeah, that is really hard. We see that often. Sitting down with families, we go through a pretty detailed, called a needs discovery process, where we're just getting to know you and what your needs are and what your goals are. Just like Christina talked about, you know, we're never here to take any freedoms away, but actually to enhance them. So if you had someone by your side for a few days a week, you know, what could you do that you're not able to do now? What are your goals? What can we help you work towards? We have families that start home care with us because they're recovering from a surgery, and then a few months down the road, they don't need home instead anymore, which we celebrate that. That's awesome. That's great for them. We want to see them grow and improve. But that burden piece is really, it comes up often in the conversations. And I like to reframe it, because oftentimes it's our older adults that are telling us, I don't want to be a burden to my kids. And then the son or daughter sitting there saying, you're not a burden, Mom. I want to give back. This is, you know, you changed my diapers. You took care of me for so many years. This is my chance to give back and serve you. But resources like Home Instead and other supports are actually an opportunity for, you know, for you to not be a burden, because your child or your friend or your spouse, someone can take off that caregiver hat when they're over and just be a son or a daughter. So they remove that feeling, even if there was a feeling of being a burden, that's removed because they're not dealing with those day-to-day care needs that maybe they were prior. So really reshaping it to asking for help and bringing resources in would really even remove that piece of being a burden if you thought that might be there in your primary caregiver's life.
That's good. So maybe having Home Instead or the like, having that resource so that our kids can maybe do some of the other things that more relational, I guess,
Right.
so to speak.
Yes.
I wanted to ask Jenny, if you've come into, what kind of misconceptions do you come across about aging in place?
How much time do we have?
I do like that the clock is right there, so you guys get to see the clock.
I think with that question, two things come to mind. First is affordability, and specifically, I think in this world, there's, in kind of the senior space, there's a lot of assumptions that are very dangerous to take on. One of those being affordability, and what I mean by that is,
you know, people think they'll, you know, Google, how much does it cost for Sunnyside Nursing Home down the road? And they'll look at that mega figure and they're like, oh, I can't afford that. Staying at home is not always the cheapest option. At the end of the day, I think there are different, I think what we have to accept is that there's different levels of care, and that's what's gonna go into the cost of care, whether it's at home, and maybe, you know, someone like Home Instead coming in. But if you need, for example, 24 hours, 7 days a week care at home, that's probably going to be more expensive than Sunnyside Nursing Home down the road. And so the first thing I thought of, you know, from a misconception standpoint is just be cautious about that assumptions, specifically with talking about the dollars in our pocket. The second thing is, you know, we're talking about, you know, being burdens on people. You know, something I see day in and day out are caregivers that are just killing themselves, trying to care for their loved ones at home. And so I want to make sure that we're, kind of the second misconception here is really making sure that we're balancing aging in place doesn't always mean aging at home. If aging at home is causing your spouse or your kids to be so negatively affected and impacted, perhaps aging in place needs to be at an independent living community, at an assisted living community, because just as we don't want to be burdens on people, I'm sure we also don't want people to be, you know, their health negatively impacted. There's statistics out the wazoo of, you know, caregivers, specifically kids, that sacrifice their job to be able to stay at home for mom or dad or whoever. So there's very, very real consequences to all of the decisions that we make through this point in our lives. And so I think my message, kind of summarize everything, is just really be cautious about making assumptions. And when you talk to family and friends about this sort of thing, you know, what they do with their loved ones, they could be working with a vastly different fact scenario. And so just be conscious of the decisions that we're making and assumptions that we're making as we navigate this.
That's a good point. And again, goes to planning. We had a gentleman, one of our friends here, we talked about bringing, you know, his wife home because physically she needed long-term care, but mentally she didn't. And so his thought was, well, maybe I'll bring her back home. And then, but that would require 24/7 care. And so you do the math on that. But I do also acknowledge as a real estate professional how much it costs us to maintain our existing homes. It's more than a notion. It's a lot of yard work. Yeah, my yard boy's bill does not get any less every year. Every springtime the bills goes up a little bit. I also wanted just to share that in real estate, we're seeing more generational thought to housing. People are constructing homes if possible, or figuring out how to add on to homes. But there's just a lot of thought and a lot of planning. And it does make me proud when I can say, well, have you thought about this? Because of our conversations that we've had, and can look for certain physical aspects of safety in the home. So that's been all attributed to this group working together. So, Jenny, are there any costs to aging in place that you've seen? I'm not sure that I'm asking this right. Is there anything that you can think of them budgeting for beforehand? I know you kind of answered that, but anything in particular come to mind that we should be budgeting for first?
I think beyond what they've already shared, you know, specifically whether it's home modifications or maybe just someone coming in, just for a few hours of the day. So if I'm thinking of like a John and Jane Smith, maybe John's not doing so well, and maybe Jane just needs a break every few hours, and that having that break every few hours will delay or maybe prevent John from ever having to go into a senior community. But most of the time these things cost money. I mean, there are some resources that will, governmental benefits that will address some of these things, but the more that you can do proactively, I mean, that's gonna be the name of the game this whole session is proactive planning, what can be done in advance, because there's so many times where we cannot stay at home regardless of what we do to it. Maybe because we're in a crisis and we don't have the time, money, or capacity to be able to do all these home modifications, but had we started that conversation well in advance, perhaps we could have tackled it. I don't know if that answers your
It
question.
does, it helps. It's that planning piece again, trying to figure out what our options are. And so I think talking to one another, I mean, I don't know if you guys heard me talk over the last couple of months about cooperative housing. And that's something that I'm considering as a solo ager, is living in a cooperative manner. It's buying into something, maybe not quite as expensive, but I'm only gonna be able to be there for so long as well, so that's a lot to think about. Let's go back to Christina for a minute. As we do think about being independent and aging in place, what are some of those home changes that we can make? I know some of us, we've talked about that before, but it's always neat to hear from a new voice. What kind of modifications would you recommend?
Yeah, first I would talk about your beautiful floor rugs. In the bathroom, in the kitchen, in the hallway, in the front door, in the back door, in between your living room. I mean, I've been in so many homes that literally are just floor rug to floor rug to floor rug, which
Why do you think we do that? Like, why do we do that? I do it.
I mean, they are beautiful, and they do, some of them provide support, and some of them are, you know, my mom had them, so I had them. I think some of them are also in protection of your own carpet, which is a lovely thing to do, and to be responsible for the carpet and keeping it clean. You can wash a throw rug, you can't wash your carpet all that easily. But I don't know that I've literally met a single rug that has ever stayed down and stayed flat and not moved, regardless of what you do to it. Now, they make really good tape, and my OTs are incredible about finding all the creative ways to keeping your beautiful floor rugs where they are, but keeping them there safely without moving or causing a trip hazard. But floor rugs probably have to be one of the most #1. I think the most falls happen in the bathroom and with floor rugs. Yeah.
I just did that for my mother's house and bought them on Amazon. They're called Alien Grips,
Sure.
and you can cut them to the size. She's got some big oriental rugs that cover tile,
Sure.
and you can cut them to size, and you can put them on the corners, and if it's really big on the sides as well. And that was about 6 months ago, and they haven't moved.
Oh, good. Wonderful. I hope that stays. That's great. Good job. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, and you know, the slightest thing can make them unstick or move, and so adding or move in general. So
They're very affordable.
yes, and they make really easy ones that are already pre-cut in corners, so you can just set those down there. I mean, they make really great options. They make heavy rugs that are like sloped, so if you happen to have a device, a walker or something like that, that it can help move up onto it without catching. So rugs are a big deal. I would highly consider, look in the next couple houses you enter and see how many rugs there are. And even if you're very able-bodied and sure-footed, you're still gonna catch on a rug at some point in time. So do be mindful of that. And second would be the bathroom. Bathrooms are just really tricky places. They're usually smaller than other rooms. They're not open. They've got a lot of important equipment in there and things. You're usually wet or, you know, showering. Maybe you're tired, moving to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So I would say night lights, especially motion detected night lights, so they're not on and bothering you when you're, sleeping. But as soon as you start to move, have them in very accessible areas from your bedroom all the way through your bathroom so that the floor is lit. Simple things like a grab bar so that you have something sure, not the suction cup grab bars, but actually installed full body weight support bars that you can hold on to that are in studs. And those can be very simple to install.
I have a new contact that they're bougie little bars, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
So they're coming along.
They are indeed. And again, that's where my thought of independence versus maybe a sacrifice that you don't love. So maybe you get the cute bougie bar, but then you can still independently shower safely and not have that slip, trip, and fall that will end your ability to live at home and shower on your own for a short time. So grab bars I think are very important. And not only like for in and out of the tub or the shower, but specifically for also in any seated surface. Sometimes when you're sitting on the john for a long time, your legs go to bed and you get all tired, you need something to help pull you up or push you up. And that goes for any seated surface, but specifically in the bathroom. Some sort of elevated toilet seat or a toilet seat with rails. I can't tell you how many of those we buy for all of our participants because toilets are low. Even if you buy a tall ADA toilet, they're still too low. And then there's nothing to hold on to. So I really think some of those sorts of things are very easy and very affordable to install, but they make a really big difference. Some of the pre-planning that we talked about would be also your entrance and your exit, your egress through your home. Some of the biggest difficulties we see with people being safe in the community is their lack of ability to get themselves in and out of the home safely. So I'll even use my own grandma for example. She fell out of the garage, broke her ankle, and then she moved in with my parents. Well, my parents have steps to the front door and the back door, and so how do we immediately get her home from the hospital, but we don't have a ramp access? But we don't want her to go to the nursing, you know what I mean? So like all of those things that happen in that immediate crisis that like, ooh, if we just had, a little ramp or stairs that were accessible with railings. So some of those things, I can do those stairs. I don't need something to hold on to or, not a problem. Even from a physical therapist, even from, when I first was looking for a home years ago, I was young and able-bodied, but I still wanted a home that was one floor, that was fully accessible because I worked every day with people that have the most unfortunate accidents when you never plan on them. And that happens at all ages. So some of those egress in and out of the home are really big deals. If you did have a crisis, could you even go back to your home because you don't even have the ability to get in and out of it? So yeah, grab bars, something for the tub or shower, and then like an elevated toilet seat, night lights, and rugs, rug tape, nailing down your rugs, I think are some very important things.
Yeah, the rugs.
Rugs. Always goes back to rugs. Yeah.
And I'm particular. All my rugs match. Betsy Keeler does. So I just need to get rid of them. And I saw your eyes light up with the night lights. I'm like, I bet she's going to be ordering night lights for my house.
Yes. It's amazing how much just a little bit of light really does change your perspective. It kind of does give you a little bit more alertness because, we all get tired when we're walking to the bathroom in the middle of the night. You start going in one way and it should be this way. So having illumination and just a little bit of light does make a big difference for safety. And one other thing that I don't think most people think about, getting in and out of bed, depending on your bed height. I've met a lot of people that have bed heights that I won't even talk about how tall and unsafe they are. And we all love to do like hurdles and jumps when we were younger, but I really think that should end when we're like 7. So I would consider the height of your bed is a really big deal, and what you use to get into bed. Do you use your side rail, your bed board, your footboard? Do you use a step ladder? Does your step ladder have a handle? Should you lower your bed? Should you buy a shorter box spring? I've seen it all. So I would just consider the height of your bed and is it really a safe position for you to get in and out of safely, easily. And then if you need a little something to hold on to, they make really accessible bed rails It's not a rail like you see in a hospital bed. They do make them also cute and bougie as well. But that does give you something to hold on to. So when you're getting in and out of bed, got a little back pain, got a little hip weakness, you can still use your arms to help roll. You can stabilize yourself on the edge of the bed. If you start to slip out of the edge of the bed because it's too tall, you still have something to hold on to so that you can at least reach the floor before you slide to the floor. So that's something probably most people don't think about, but height of a bed, in my opinion, is a big deal. And I see most people with beds that are way too tall and very unsafe.
Who has a tall bed in here? Who wants to, oh, there are some tall beds, okay. All right, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I had not heard that one before. Let's switch gears a tiny bit, because we are talking about aging without apologies. Let's talk a little bit about family dynamics. I wanted to start with JJ. How do family dynamics impact independence?
Yeah, it's very challenging, and I think one thing that has become more common are sort of mixed families as well, where you have we're working with a family right now where the wife is the one that primarily needs assistance, and it's a second marriage, so her husband actually hasn't needed assistance up until recently, and we're seeing a lot of cognitive decline in him as well. And so his ability to safely care for his wife, who really should not be left alone given her physical and mental condition, his ability to care for her is diminished, and now we have not only her kids worried about her, but now his kids worried about him and worried about her as well. So they, you never plan for these things, right? And so his decline has come on relatively quickly, and so now the family's working together, trying to scramble and come to an agreement between both sides of the family, what's safe, what's going to be best. And thankfully, in this case, they are, both sides of the family are both in agreement that mom and dad both need help, and we need someone in there as soon as possible. So we're able to provide support, but we see a lot of variance between what the kids, medical professionals, and others from the outside might see the need is, as compared to what the patient, the older adult might see as the need. So that's probably the biggest family dynamic we see is the difference between the perceived need of the older adult and the actual need that is there. And that can cause a lot of disagreements and can become pretty heated with emotions, where you might have a son or daughter saying, "Mom, you really can't." Talk about the driving conversation. That's probably the most difficult one. It's not safe for you to drive anymore. Who wants to hear that? I don't think anybody wants to hear that. So when you don't have those conversations early on, before physical and possibly cognitive challenges set in, the whole family is wondering what is best for mom or dad, or what would they want, because we didn't ask 5 or 10 years ago, or we didn't ask yesterday before a stroke happened, or a life-changing fall happened. And so that would really encourage families to have those conversations early on, because then you can all be on the same page, and when crisis does hit, or the incremental aging and decline that we're all gonna face someday, Lord willing, we live into our older years, then you're all prepared, and you can reference back and say, hey, we talked about this, here's what you wanted in terms of driving, living, financial, here's what you wanted in terms of your financial planning, estate planning, things like that. And you guys can feel free to stop by our table back there. I have a nice action plan for aging that is a guided resource for questions you could ask in those different areas of life as you're planning for aging, and other resources that go along with that too. But really the family dynamics can be challenging, where there is a disagreement between what's needed and what what is perceived, and we just try to be there as a support and provide a professional recommendation on what's gonna accomplish your goal. Whether that's aging in place or moving to a living community, what level of support you need.
What a gift. I guess I hadn't even thought about sitting down and thinking about when do I want to stop driving, and just having someone that can walk me through that. Like right now, I wouldn't even know how to make that decision, but if someone maybe spent 10 or 15 minutes with, as I'm planning long term, what about driving, or what about this, and just really bringing up things you don't think about so that you can make a decision way before you get to that place. And knowing it was your decision and not someone else's decision, I can only imagine would be if I remembered that I made that decision. Which even now, I struggle with those things. Thank you so much for spending time on that. I think we all can start to imagine family dynamics. But this leads me into Jenny, which
I was like, where's he getting these families that get along?
That's right.
So oftentimes in this last couple of years, as I've been questioning aging and what to do and processes and how to be protective, I just start with you. I just start, and I just think it goes back to that first experience I had with your team, and they're asking questions that I didn't even know to think of yet, and it just, family dynamics, let's talk about that. Like, and you start talking about families that have been like second marriages, but the second marriages have been 20 years now. Like, I can't think of any more complicated scenario. I'm sure you can.
I'm gonna first say, if you don't make decisions in terms of, kind of the buzzwords like healthcare power of attorney, healthcare representative, financial power of attorney, these are documents that put others in, or give others the ability to make healthcare decisions for you, legal and financial decisions for you. If you don't make those decisions, someone else will. And that someone else could end up being a judge. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think I want a judge making the decision in terms of who's gonna make decisions for me. So not to be a little scare tactic-y, but that is what realistically happens if you do not do these very, very basic, they're not hard, they're just a couple pages, it's not eating the whole elephant kind of thing. If you just do these documents in advance, the likelihood of preventing what's called a guardianship down the road, the likelihood it's probably not going to happen. And that the guardianship board is the process in which a judge would potentially appoint who is going to serve as the person making healthcare and financial decisions for you. You can imagine in blended families or not. I mean, even families that have siblings that just don't get along well. These are already emotionally driven times. And then, I had a client a million years ago that said, Jenny, all my kids are chiefs. None of them are just Indians. None of them are just good old Indians. They're all chiefs. And they're all gonna wanna make the decision. And it just stuck with me that, when you're talking about making decisions, sometimes there's a lot of people talking and everyone wants to make the decision, and that could lead to World War III happening. And that's when you need, thankfully we don't do estate litigation. I'm way too nice. I would cry in the middle of the courtroom if you made me go in there. But that is where lawyers would potentially enter the picture when we don't do these basic documents to put someone in the capacity to make decisions for you and to work with folks like these two to be able to help you stay at home. But it's interesting how very different our three worlds are, but how very connected we are at the same time, because to be able to sign things for them to be able to engage for their services, if there's a question of capacity, they're probably going to need those little power of attorney documents I was just blabbing about. So just at the bare minimum, getting those documents in place to dictate who you want to make healthcare and financial decisions for you. That's what's most important, is you making that decision, not someone else, like you were just talking about.
And one thing I also love about what you do, Jenny, in particular, is you like we do a checkup every year, how much easier it is just to stay on top of those small decisions a little bit every year, rather than 20 years since I've seen you, and all the people and all the players are different now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just really appreciated that education up front.
Yeah.
Stay on
I
top
think
of it.
I think with all the education partners, I think looking at that partnership with whoever you work with really is a relationship typically, not as a transaction, because most of the time you need help, and being able to rely on the kind of an established relationship is going to make that process so much, I don't want to say easier, because nothing's easy, but it will make it easier.
Wow. Guess what? It's time for you to ask some questions. It's your turn. Yeah.
Okay, I have one.
Good.
Okay.
Sorry,
Let's go here and then-
I didn't notice it were.
That's okay.
Putting your hand up.
It's okay. Hands up, please. Yes, sir,
I
Robert.
have several questions, can I ask them all?
Please.
So
We'll see
does
first.
Indiana have a legal requirement when you have to be tested for driving again?
I don't know, that's outside my world.
But we are gonna have, a session on that, so.
Okay, great. So we have long-term care insurance. Can I expect to get honest answers if I ask them questions about my policy and how it works?
That's familiar. She can touch on the driving thing?
Yes, from a pace perspective, Christina can answer your first.
But back to your question.
I don't know about the legal part,
right.
but I mean, I know we contract with a variety of different providers who do driving assessments. So they can take into effect cognitive, physical, as in, do you have the range of motion to fully be able to be safe behind the wheel? Do you have the ankle strength in motion? And then an actual driving test where you get in the car with them, their specialized car, and then they take you through an assessment of driving to see, how well you did. Did you see that stop sign there? Did you see someone merging into your lane? Those sorts of things. So that is something that occupational therapists do, is they do formalized driving assessments. And they would give you therapy on how to improve that. So it doesn't have to be you failed, you're done forever, or hey, you maybe didn't do this part correctly, let's remediate that. So it can be taken away or court ordered by the BMV, but you can also sign up for it on your own accord. It is for anybody to do from all ages of driving. My sister, who's in her 40s, is going through it right now after a stroke. So it doesn't matter what age you are. If you want to re-enter driving, you want to be confident in your own abilities to drive, and make sure that you are safe to drive, which again, having those checks and balances, asking for help, asking for that, hey, how am I doing on this, is a great step that shows that you are willing to see how you're doing driving and all of those things. So occupational therapy through driving rehab is an option, and there are so many of them throughout central Indiana. And the BMV has them online, who they recommend. So you can do that as well, but I don't know of the legal aspect of it. I know they continue to test your eyesight and do those things, and sometimes that's what kicks you into a simple eye test at the BMV might kick you into needing driving rehab, or they'll have you tested because of that.
But how nice to know,
Yeah.
thanks for having us come back to that. How nice to know that there's some proactive things we can do
Absolutely.
with that.
Yep.
So that's good.
I would say from the lawyer on the board, I would love that. I mean, I don't do it litigation, like I've already said, but where my head immediately went is, say someone is driving, perhaps they shouldn't, they cause an accident, that's when, like the hammer or Ken Nunn, those terms come into your lives. But in the event that maybe there's been some conservative steps that were taken to reduce that potential liability, that would certainly help their case. But if we just put our head in the sand and say, I'm fine, and then cause that accident, but don't have that, kind of in our tool belt, I could see, I could just see that that could be something where, from a liability standpoint, it would be a good idea.
Debbie, were you gonna say it? Had you learned something?
Oh, I had heard about the B&B requiring eye test. It will not let you renew your license online, that you need to do the eye test and go into the
And I don't know if,
But that's
yeah.
the driving test, I had not heard that.
Yeah, I don't know if I think it's a great idea, right? Vision is a very important component of driving. So I think that's very important to at least have that assessed. And we all kind of just like, that's just normal, or it's been like that for a while. We all kind of make those excuses about the things that we have going on. You're like, oh, I'll deal with that later, kind of like you were talking about. But it is, some of those checks and balances are the keys to making sure, like, if you have that concern, if you have that question, that little voice in the back of your head, they're like, is this safe? Should I do this? I would say that's the strong part of your brain saying, I probably should do something about this, even if it takes you to the B&B to get an eye test that says maybe you need bigger whatever it is.
But what a great way to build your confidence back
Absolutely.
in that area.
To have somebody that is certified, to be in the car with you, to make sure, yeah. The hard conversations to have,
I'll
believe
let
me.
him finish. Yeah, thank you. Did you ask?
What kind of driving support exists in Hamilton County area if you don't drive?
Ooh, like,
I mean, we live in a
like the
subdivision.
Medicabs
We
and
can't
things.
walk to the grocery store.
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
too far away.
So do you live in Hamilton County?
Yeah.
Not Boone County? Okay. I know Boone County has a pretty robust, Boone County Senior Services, their transport arm is very great. I know Hamilton County has several resources also.
So there is a way to get around without
Shepherd Center.
driving.
Yeah, there are. So Shepherd Center, she just mentioned, is a great resource. I know there are lots of others that do transportation as well. And then if you're engaged with more of a home care agency, most home care agencies provide transportation as well to appointments, a grocery store, pharmacy, events, wherever you wanna go as part of your kind of wraparound care.
Yes.
Last question.
Yeah.
In order to qualify for home care, and if my spouse is living with me and she's fine and I'm not, am I able to get home care at home?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm paid through my insurance?
Sure, so, you did ask a question about long-term care insurance.
Yeah.
I can speak to that a little bit, and Jenny may have more insight too. So we work with a lot of different long-term care insurance policies. A lot of these were sold 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Exactly.
So best case scenario, you have a paper copy filed away somewhere. So your main concern was, are they gonna give me honest answers about my policy?
Yeah.
And that's probably birthed out of some concerns you've heard of people fighting tooth and nail to get what they paid for 20 years of, right?
Yeah.
So I will say, you should be able to get honest answers, but they're not gonna make it easy. We work with long-term care insurance policies all the time where your policy will pay for home care services, long-term care, so if you wanna go into assisted living, it'll help pay for that as well. But we do a lot of the upfront work to submit the invoices and our care notes so that you can get reimbursed for the care. But the reimbursement piece is where they will, sadly, I've seen families, even in end-of-life scenarios, where they're fighting tooth and nail to get reimbursed for the care that we provided and that they paid into for decades to receive. And the reason that is long-term care has become so expensive that these are kind of golden policies that they don't sell anymore. Because they realize how expensive it's gonna be for them as a company, so.
As the kids say, the math ain't mathin'.
Right.
And they're
Yeah.
catching up to it.
Yes, yeah.
So
So
did
that
you
would be
look
best.
at his policy for him and, just as a proactive approach to like, hey, we're probably within a couple of years of needing some care. Not, crisis could be anywhere, but like if you were somebody we'd like to partner with, you'd probably look over that policy for us and let us know what,
Yeah,
how much we
we,
could have.
a lot of them are written pretty similarly, so it definitely, default to legal counsel to review the policy itself.
Okay.
But
So
that's
it's done.
practically how it works with the home care agency. We work with probably a dozen different long-term care companies, and they're all a little bit different. So,
Thank you.
you did ask one other question about as far as coverage for home care support. So there are some programs out there. So long-term care insurance would cover the caregiving and personal care piece. Medicare does not, so be aware of that. They will cover the skilled home health or hospice support, but not the caregiving and personal care. So that's where you turn towards either self-pay on an hourly basis, long-term care insurance, veterans benefits, or the Medicaid waiver program. And then another alternative, which we love and partner with, is the PACE program, which is way above and beyond what the Medicaid waiver even offers, and really personalized. PACE has been an excellent partner for us up in the greater Lafayette area, and they do, when we first heard about PACE, I didn't think it was true, all that they offered. So if you get a chance to talk with them, please check in, because it really is truly wraparound support like you wouldn't believe. So.
I only
And
have,
Betsy.
I only have 12 questions.
Okay.
No, not quite that many. Christina,
Yes, ma'am.
does insurance cover PACE?
So we actually become your insurance.
You become our insurance.
Yeah, so the people like me and my OT compartment and everyone else, we are the people sitting at the table, helping make the decisions based on what we know of you and what your goals are and what you want, to say, yes, you know what, you do need a shower chair, but we need a different one. Or you know what, yes, let's send you to the cardiologist and have this test paid for. So PACE becomes your insurance. Medicare and Medicaid together make up PACE. And there's lots of options that Tasha can talk about, you know, if you only had one or the other. But we become your insurance. And so the people who know you, who are caring for you, who are in the home doing the home care with you, are the ones helping make the decisions to say, this is what's best, this is what you need, this is what you want, and to be able to provide that for you.
But wouldn't we want PACE before that time? I don't want somebody else making my decisions.
Well, currently, I mean, normal insurance is that's kind of how it works. You know, somebody else is dictating, well, you already had a walker 5 years ago, you don't get another one, or, you know, things of that nature. But is that what you were?
Well, if I decide to go to PACE, is my insurance gonna cover it?
So, depending on what you have, so we accept, Medicaid only, we accept, what we call dual eligibility, which is full Medicaid and Medicare. And then we also accept Medicare, TRICARE. Generally, someone that may only have Medicare, they may have resources or assets that may impact them getting government funding. So the reason why you would private pay for PACE and replace your Medicare benefits is because, let's just use an example, Jane has Medicare only, but she has $3,100 a month in gross income, and she has an IRA of $75,000. She's not eligible for Medicaid, but she wants PACE. So what would happen is Jane would replace her Medicare coverage and private pay us for her PACE services. And so private paying PACE, and this is state to state, because we're in 33 other states, but Ascension Living is in 3 other states, including Indiana. So under 65 in the state of Indiana, or for Ascension Living, is about $5,400 a month. And then for anybody over 65, it's about $5,900 per month. And yes, you're replacing that coverage. That sounds like a lot, but once again, Jane has some resources, some assets that she could utilize to private pay. And then once she spends down and she's ready to go on government assistance, she would go to the attorney and then try to get a Miller's Trust, which is a whole nother topic. And then, and they would help her to apply for Medicaid. And then she would, then her cost obligation to PACE would be like $118 per month. She would still be responsible for her Part B premium, which is the 202, but that's it. There's no out of pocket. Even if somebody private pays that $59, there's no deductibles, premiums. The only premium that Jane would pay for is that 202, which is the Medicare Part B premium. Cause yeah, we are a Medicaid and Medicare replacement plan.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank
Oh,
you.
did I explain that?
Yeah.
That's
It's a lot.
very good, very.
It's a
very
lot.
good.
It's a lot.
That's very
Okay, my second question is, and this is for JJ, there's a lot of pop-up, care facilities or care people. I mean, you drive down the street and see that sign that says, "I will take care of your family," you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You're in competition with all those, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And so how do you make yours more desirable than that little sign on the street?
Sure. Yeah, there are a lot of options out there for home care support, anywhere from private duty care, where you have a neighbor or a friend who knows somebody who's a really nice lady and does caregiving, just cash under the table sort of. So those are good options for someone who wants to save a little bit of money, has that trust and knows the person well. And then other ranges from small mom and pop home care agencies all the way up to national and international companies like Home Instead. Really, there are pros and cons to each of those. Typically, I point to your question about the ones that pop up all over the place. Just good questions to ask are to get to know them as a company and get to know their caregivers. So, are they, they're a licensed personal services agency in the state of Indiana? Are their caregivers all employees of the company? So are they bonded and insured, covered under liability insurance?
Okay.
Which with a private duty caregiver, that's again a kind of a trade-off. You would not typically have any sort of liability coverage because they're just a standalone.
Right.
Other questions are, what screening tools do you do for your team? So drug screenings, background checks, motor vehicle checks, in-person training. Are your caregivers, are there quality assurance check-ins and pop-in visits, things like that?
I need to write that list.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, yeah, that's a lot of
Yeah.
really good questions.
Yeah, we have a good summarized list of just questions to consider that I'm happy to get to you. But those are all things that someone might see a dollar amount of, $30, $40 an hour for an agency like Home Instead compared to I can pay Susie $15, $20 an hour to take care of me.
Yeah.
Well, what if care increases and you need a team of caregivers and not just Susie? Or what if Susie gets sick and she can't come, then there's nobody else, right? So there are pros and cons to each option, and we'd be happy to talk to you more of that.
Okay, thank you.
Great question.
Last, Jenny, I don't have a question for her because she and I work together and they do a great job. They have a lot of social events and discussions. They have a party once or twice a year. I like that part. And you can go in anytime and talk to them about what you need, and if your situation changes. My son died last year, and I was able to go in and change the documents without any cost. That's it, Sally.
I'm gonna make you laugh. I'll give you the $100 after. Betsy, you had a question.
Oh, no, it was more like a comment about being proactive of do that test if you should be driving or not.
You have a story, don't you?
Yes, I do have a story. Leanne and I are becoming very trusted, ask everything people for our clients. And we had one call of this that now everything that comes in the mail that they don't understand, they take a picture and send it to us, and it's like, what is this? And we're not lawyers, so we're just kind of watching things, and long story short, he had an accident.
He did not want
he
did
did
not
not
want
want
them to
his,
tell the kids.
yeah, his kids to know that he was in an accident. And he thought he had taken care of because the person who had the accident with said, oh, don't worry, we'll figure it out outside, insurances and stuff, but that did not happen. So then he didn't appear to a court, a ordinary appearance kind of thing, because he didn't know he was in the middle of a mess. Until this other, paper come, and he just took a picture and sent it to me. So, that was one, they trust enough on us that they ask any kind of question. So I finally came to his home and I said, so did you have an accident? He's like, yeah, but they took care of it. He was very kind of like, no, you have to kind of show in court and stuff. His family several times has said, you should not be driving anymore. It was his fault. He said he couldn't brake fast enough when he saw the car coming, so physically he doesn't have that responses as fast as he thought he has. But at this point, I think it became a positive thing, because when he said, what are we gonna do? Now I have to pay insurance, I have to pay lawyers, I have to pay all of those things, and I can't afford it. I'm just in my, retire income. But that became the very good way for his children. First I said, you need to share this with your children because this is a big deal. He did hire a lawyer, but he should have spared all of this mess if he was just open to say, yeah, maybe I should not be driving now. But the good thing is that one of the good points that he told the judge, that he was taking steps for this not happening again. He was like, I am not driving anymore, and the judge said, was very kind to him, saying, yeah, it's good. But yeah, it's good to take those steps before crises like that come about, and now you have to kind of say, I am not gonna drive again, please, help me with this big deal that I just created of myself.
I'm encouraged that if we start to self-doubt, that there is a process that we can go through
Yes.
to continue to be independent, so I'm very encouraged by that.
I've got a question about the, insurance. If, someone elderly is still driving, shouldn't they have, on their policy, a high comprehensive, collision, medical exemption, or, I'm kinda confused about that, but you can.
Do we have any insurance experts in the room? Additional coverage for senior drivers, or?
Yeah, make sure that the, coverage is, the comprehensive is high enough to, cover something without having to go to court, or that kind of thing.
So check our policies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if an umbrella policy covers
Okay.
that or not.
That's an umbrella.
It does.
Check to see an umbrella. Did I hear it? It does?
You should check it.
You should check to see.
I have some clients that carry an umbrella policy for this reason.
Okay.
So,
Umbrella policies.
Yeah, you just need
Something to check into.
you need to check the
Thank you.
insurance company.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
There's a question back here. I don't know if it was answered, Lee, but a while ago you had your hand up.
I was just gonna say, I took care of my husband, as he declined, and Medicare did cover palliative care. So we had a physical therapist, an occupational therapist come in and work with him, for a very short time, because he was in a lot of pain and he wouldn't continue. And hospice, we went with the last week of his life. And, they have, nurses who stop by, but they're not there all the time. And they had at first wanted me to turn him. He weighed 285 and was 6 foot. He was a big guy. So trying to turn him myself, and he could no longer help, was really hard. So I had to hire somebody to come in and help, the last 2 days of his life, overnight. So I took care of him during the day, and they were there for the overnight. but the palliative care they will cover.
So those are definitely different types of care that are worth exploring.
Palliative care is a specialty, so it has
It has-
copay just like any other specialty that you go to, like cardiology or pulmonology,
Right,
those
and,
kinds of
and we
things.
had to have the doctor's, request for it.
Thank you. Thanks, Evelyn. Oh, it was.
I have a 95-year-old mother that's been living with me all winter.
She's still with you.
I convinced her to move in with us, thinking maybe she'd go downhill far enough that she wouldn't wanna go back home. But she wants to go back home.
Always.
And she just had a procedure, we were supposed to move her last weekend, but she had a procedure because she bleeds in her stomach and that was fixed. But the anesthesia this time kinda left her in much worse. So now my brother who lives in Kentucky and I are having this family situation where he doesn't really want her to go home and I wanna obey her wishes. And I'm a retired nurse, but he says you're seeing through, rose-colored glasses because you're her daughter, and you can't look at this objectively. And he can't because he's not there. So, I do have one of those friends that's close by that she's a nurse and she's gonna do some of this stuff under the table for me. But, I'm probably gonna end up getting somebody else coming into the house. Is there somebody that can tell us by assessing her really well that she cannot live here on her own? I mean, I appreciate that help, but.
Yeah. Have a second opinion, like a second opinion.
Yeah, and I see that if you've already hired the place, they would do their check and then hopefully tell you if they think that she's not gonna be able to live alone.
Yeah.
But right now, is there somebody that I could go to?
It's interesting, I don't know that we've ever dealt with that from, you know, a PACE perspective with a potential enrollee, with them not looking for the program, but I mean, to be able to be enrolled in PACE, you have to be 55 and older, you have to live in our community, and you have to qualify for nursing home level of care. And so a clinical team does go out and they meet with the participant or potential participant and their family and the environment they're currently living in to say like, are they safe in that current home with that support that they have? Because that has to be one of the criteria is to be in PACE, is to be safe in the home when the night you enroll. I'm not sure what it would look like as like an assessment to just say if you're safe at home or not, if you're not looking for PACE enrollment. I mean, that's constantly what we're doing and the entire concept of PACE is to keep people safe in their homes. And that doesn't always mean they're home independently, but you know, if she's living with you, is that more her preference than a facility? You know what I mean? And so, you know, there are those kind of a little bit of give and takes, you know, is a home safe with you better than it not living with you at all?
Logansport, right? Is PACE up in Logansport?
Yes, Franciscan covers that area. And you can go to the National PACE, NPAonline.org and put in the zip code.
To see her face, yeah. But I mean, like, obviously PT and OT, that is what they do, is to see safety in the home. I'm not sure even if I'm not sure even at home, they're not specifically looking or have those criterias to say if they are or not.
Yeah, typically, you know, at whatever home care agency you look at engaging, is not gonna have, you know, physical therapists, occupational therapists on staff but we do a home safety assessment from our experience, seeing what works best for people to age in place. One thing you could do, yes, not to take advantage of the PACE program, but you could have them come out and assess to see if she's a good fit for PACE and get their opinion on the home situation.
Even in her own home, in Lois's home?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would say, since she recently had a procedure and has had a little bit of a decline, you may be able to engage a home health company, so a skilled service up in the Logansport area that I can connect you with what options are out there. But yeah, they would come out and do an assessment for physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, those services, and they may be able to give sort of a recommendation on the level of care that's needed and what's safe and what's not safe. And then layer that in with, say, a home care agency coming out and giving our recommendation on what level of support might be needed. You can rely on a lot of different data points, but would definitely encourage you to look at the home health piece, because they are going to have the skilled occupational therapists that can say, we can make this work, but here are some tweaks that might need to be done. Is that helpful?
Yeah, Dr. Henderson.
St. Vincent used to have what's called the Institute of Aging. Both the people that ran that have retired, so I don't know if it still exists.
I do think they're still doing
It does exist.
I think it
Yeah.
might, that would be one option. The other place is RHI, Rehab Hospital of Indiana, and they may have a way of doing that either at their facility or under the home. I know they could do it at their facility.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's definitely a medical provider's opinion, like a clinician's opinion. Just to throw, now I feel like I'm like throwing way too much information, cause you've got so much, input, but there are private practice care managers as well, that could potentially be a resource where, a lot of the amazing ones I know, they sometimes I feel like this whole world, it's very like, when I say this whole world, I'm talking about like the senior space is very like segregated, like there's not this like beautiful, cohesive, like space that like all the answers are at. And I feel like in my experience, care managers tend to sort of serve that need, especially the private practice ones where they have a lot of the times they're either OT or PT by trade, but they've opened up their own practice. One I know of, she specifically helps families that are kind of navigating like this weird combination of family dynamics, but also like how is mom, dad, whoever doing health-wise, but sort of with this family dynamic aspect as well. So I know we're almost out of time, but I wanted to mention maybe checking into private practice care managers as well.
And as you anticipate, potential, maybe this dip may not be improving, she might need a little bit more support, and you might need a little more support. I mean, again, the purpose of PACE is to keep people happy and healthy, in the community. And so, whether it's she wants to engage in the facility there and go to the day center, or she just simply needs a wraparound service that is for transportation, so you don't have to drive her everywhere. They also have all of the medicine for her. You have doctors specifically there with the geriatric scope, because they only treat, the geriatrics. So, however you pursue going through that, they still might be an option, whether they can answer that question for you in their simple enrollment process, but as she continues to age or maybe have more needs, be able to give you guys enough support to keep her happy and healthy in the community.
I have a question. If somebody has Ascension doctors right now, and they were wanted to consider the PACE program to help them stay home, would they be able to keep those same Ascension doctors for their specialists and things? Or does it convert over?
Yeah, so their primary care would have to convert over to our primary care.
I think that's good.
But for the other specialists, depends on who's in network and like who they actually go through. So they might be Ascension doctor, but are they AMG or are they, what?
Okay.
But yes, it's absolutely an option, especially if they're already in our network, or is it something that we really feel strongly that we need more of those in our network? So it just depends, but yeah.
Good questions. All right, well, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. I want to encourage you to go back and meet our education partners. Many of us have articles that extend this topic for you, so ask for an educational piece there. Thank you so much, as always. Your questions are amazing. To round that out, I really appreciate you so much for coming. I did, on your seat, first of all, there is a blue flyer.